The first time Ava Bennett heard her own name inside the world of monsters, it was whispered by a woman wearing a diamond engagement ring worth more than Ava's entire life. After tonight, Celeste Voss said softly. Ava Bennett disappears. The glass slipped from Ava's tray. It hit the marble rooftop floor with a sharp, glittering crack. Champagne exploded across polished stone. Crystal shards scattered beneath gold heels, Italian loafers, and the hem of Celeste's white silk gown. For one breath, the whole city seemed to stop with it. Above them, Manhattan glowed like a kingdom made of glass and sin. Cameras flashed near the rooftop garden. A violinist played beneath strings of warm lights. Billionaires laughed with senators. Men who owned casinos, ports, unions, judges, and secrets lifted champagne flutes to celebrate the engagement of Roman DeLuca and Celeste Voss. And suddenly, every powerful face turned toward the curvy waitress in the black uniform. Ava's throat closed. She stood in the middle of the rooftop, with one trembling hand still wrapped around the silver tray, her other palm burning from where a shard had cut her skin. She could feel every stare on her body, every expensive judgment sliding over her hips, her apron, her cheap shoes, her brown hair pinned badly because she had worked a double shift before this party. Furniture. That was how people looked at her. Part of the service, part of the background. Until now. Celeste turned slowly. She was impossibly beautiful in the way dangerous women were beautiful. Smooth, controlled, pale gold hair pinned at the nape of her neck. Lips painted the color of expensive wine. She smiled, like Ava had performed exactly as expected. "Oh, sweetheart," Celeste said, loud enough for the nearest guests to hear. "Are you always this clumsy?" A soft wave of laughter moved through the rooftop. Ava bent instinctively. "I'm sorry. I'll clean it up." "Don't touch it," Celeste said. The words were gentle. The warning underneath was not. Ava froze. Then another voice crossed the silence. "Why do you know her name?" The laughter died. Roman DeLuca had not raised his voice. He did not need to. The Mafia Boss stood beside Celeste beneath the rooftop lights, dressed in a black tailored suit, his dark hair combed back, his face carved into the kind of calm that made people afraid to breathe too loudly. He had the beauty of a man who had survived too much and regretted too little. Cold eyes, controlled posture, hands relaxed at his sides, as if violence was not something he reached for, but something that waited inside him. Ava had heard of him before tonight. Everyone in Manhattan had. Roman DeLuca owned restaurants that never closed, hotels that never lost money, docks that police did not inspect, and men who did not speak unless spoken to. At 36, he was feared by people twice his age and obeyed by men who had buried kings. But in that moment, he was not looking at the broken glass. He was looking at Celeste. Celeste's smile tightened. "What?" Roman's gaze did not move. "I asked why you know the waitress's name." Ava felt the rooftop shift. The violinist stopped playing. Celeste gave a small laugh, delicate and practiced. "Roman, darling, her name is on the staff list." "No." Roman's voice remained quiet. "The staff list says A. Bennett." Ava stopped breathing. Celeste's eyes flickered. Only once. But Roman saw it. So did Ava. And somehow that tiny flicker felt more terrifying than the broken glass, the staring guests, or the blood sliding down Ava's palm. Roman turned his head slightly. "Come here." Ava looked up. For one foolish second, she thought he was speaking to Celeste. He was not. He was speaking to her. Ava's legs did not move. Roman watched her with the patience of a predator waiting for the forest to go silent. "Now." Celeste touched his arm. "Roman, she's staff. Let security handle it." He did not look at his fiancée. "Take your hand off me." The color drained from Celeste's face. Around them, Men in black suits shifted. Not guests, not waiters. DeLuca men. They had been standing among the party like shadows in tuxedos, invisible until Roman's voice called them awake. Ava's manager rushed forward, pale and sweating. "Mr. DeLuca, I apologize. Ava will be removed immediately." "No," Roman said. "She will not." The manager stopped so quickly his shoes squeaked. Roman stepped toward Ava. Every instinct in her body screamed for her to back away, but there was nowhere to go. The skyline glittered behind him. Celeste stood behind him. Power surrounded him. Danger breathed with him. He stopped close enough for Ava to smell clean smoke, cedarwood, and the faint metallic edge of rain coming in from the river. His gaze dropped to her bleeding hand. Ava curled her fingers into her palm. Roman's eyes narrowed. "You heard something." Ava's heartbeat slammed against her ribs. Celeste's warning pressed against the back of her skull. "After tonight, Ava Bennett disappears." "I heard nothing," Ava whispered. Roman looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, so softly only she could hear, "You lying." Ava lifted her chin, even though fear crawled up her spine. "Then, why ask?" Something changed in his face. Not softness, not kindness, interest, dangerous interest. Before Roman could answer, Celeste laughed again. This time it sounded thinner. "Roman, this is humiliating. Our guests are waiting for a toast." Roman did not turn away from Ava. "Then they can wait." The rooftop doors opened behind them. A man stepped out from the private elevator lobby, broad-shouldered, gray-haired, smiling like a judge who had already decided the sentence. Adrian Voss, Celeste's father. The kind of man who made politicians lean close and police commissioners lower their voices. His gaze passed over Ava and stopped, just for a second. But Ava felt it like a hand closing around her throat. "Well," Adrian said smoothly. "What a mess." Roman turned at last. The air chilled. Adrian glanced at Celeste. "My dear, is everything all right?" Celeste smiled. "Perfectly. The waitress had an accident." Roman's voice cut through the silk. "The waitress has a name." Adrian's eyes moved back to Ava. Something dark passed behind them. "Yes," he said. "I imagine she does." Ava did not understand why that made her want to run. She only knew she needed to get off that rooftop, away from Celeste, away from Roman DeLuca, away from the way Adrian Voss looked at her as if she were a locked door he had been trying to open for years. Roman lifted one hand, and one of his men appeared beside him. "Dante," Roman said. "Escort Miss Bennett downstairs." Celeste's lips parted. "Roman." He looked at her then. Ava had never seen love disappear from a man's face, but she saw performance vanish from Roman's. Whatever engagement had been smiling for the cameras 5 minutes ago was gone now. "Not another word," he said. Celeste went still. Ava should have felt relieved when Dante stepped beside her and guided her toward the rooftop doors. Instead, she felt Roman's gaze follow her all the way across the marble. And as the elevator doors closed in front of her, Ava saw Celeste watching her with a smile that made one thing terribly clear. The threat had not ended. It had only begun. Ava Bennett lived in Queens on the 3rd floor of a building where the heat worked when it felt generous and the hallway lights flickered like they were tired of surviving. By the time she reached home that night, her hand had stopped bleeding, but her pulse had not slowed. She locked the door behind her, then locked the second lock, then pushed the chain into place. Only then did she breathe. The apartment was small, clean, and worn in the way of places held together by effort instead of money. A second-hand couch, a kitchen table with one uneven leg, a row of children's drawings taped beside the fridge, a blue backpack hung from a chair. Ava slipped off her heels and walked quietly toward the narrow bedroom at the end of the hall. 7-year-old Leo slept curled beneath a dinosaur blanket, one arm wrapped around a stuffed black wolf. His dark curls fell over his forehead. His mouth was open slightly. Innocent. Safe. For now. Ava leaned against the doorframe, the fear she had been holding back finally loosening in her chest. She had been 19 when her mother brought Leo home wrapped in a hospital blanket and told Ava not to ask questions. She had been 22 when her mother died in a crash that never felt like an accident. She had been 24 when she signed guardianship papers with shaking hands because no one else came for the boy. People thought Leo was her brother. Some thought he was her son. Ava never corrected anyone unless she had to. The less people knew, the safer he was. That was what her mother used to say. The less people know, the longer we survive. Ava had never understood what they were surviving from. Tonight, she feared she was about to find out. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at it until it stopped. Then, a message appeared. Do not go to sleep. Ava's stomach dropped. Another message came. Take the child and leave through the back stairwell. Now. Ava backed away from the phone like it had burned her. Then something scraped softly outside her apartment door. Her body went cold. She moved fast. She grabbed Leo's backpack, already packed with emergency clothes because fear had made her practical years ago. She lifted Leo from the bed. He stirred against her shoulder. Ava, he mumbled. Quiet, baby, she whispered. We replaying the silent game. He was sleepy enough to obey. Ava carried him into the kitchen. The apartment door handle turned. Once, slowly. Ava clamped a hand over Leo's mouth before he could gasp. The lock clicked. Someone outside was picking it. Ava moved toward the fire escape window, her knees weak, her mind sharp with panic. She pushed it open just as the front door chain snapped. Ava climbed out first, then pulled Leo after her, holding him tight against the cold metal landing. Rain misted over the alley below. A black SUV waited at the curb with its headlights off. For one terrifying second, Ava thought it belonged to whoever was breaking in. Then the back door opened. Roman DeLuca stepped out. No umbrella, no hurry, just black coat, controlled fury, and eyes fixed on her fire escape like he had known exactly where she would be. Ava froze. Behind her, inside the apartment, footsteps crossed her floor. Roman lifted one finger to his lips. Ava hated herself for obeying. Roman's men moved like shadows below. Two went through the front. One came up the fire escape so silently, Ava did not hear him until he was beside her. Miss Bennett, he whispered. Give me the boy. No. The man looked down toward Roman. Roman's voice rose from the alley, calm and absolute. She said no. Help her down. The man nodded. Ava descended the slick fire escape with Leo clinging to her neck. Her hands shook so hard she nearly slipped twice. Roman did not move until her feet touched the pavement. Then he stepped closer. Leo lifted his head from Ava's shoulder and looked at him with wide, frightened eyes. Roman's expression changed so slightly. Most people would have missed it. Ava did not. His gaze sharpened, not at Leo's fear, at his face, at his dark curls, at something Roman recognized but did not yet understand. Who is he? Roman asked. My brother. Roman looked back at Ava. Try again. Ava tightened her hold on Leo. He is a child. For the first time that night, Roman did not answer immediately. From above, a crash sounded inside her apartment. Ava flinched. Roman's jaw hardened. One of his men emerged from the building holding a small black device between gloved fingers. Camera in the smoke detector, the man said. Another behind the kitchen vent. Whoever installed them had access days ago. Ava stared at the device. Hidden surveillance. In her home, where Leo slept, her legs nearly gave out. Roman saw it. He reached for her, then stopped, before touching her. That restraint scared her more than if he had grabbed her. It meant he knew exactly how much power he had. It meant he was choosing not to use it. For now. Get in the car, Roman said. Ava laughed once, breathless and bitter. You think I'm getting into a car with a mafia boss? I think someone broke into your apartment 10 minutes after you left my engagement party, he said. I think my fiancée knew your full name when she should not have. I think your home has surveillance devices planted in it. And I think if you stay here, you and that child will be dead before sunrise. Leo whimpered. Ava kissed his hair. Her eyes burned, but she refused to cry in front of Roman DeLuca. What do you want from me? She asked. Roman leaned closer. Rain slid down the side of his face, catching in the hard line of his jaw. The truth, he said. And until I have it, you belong where I can keep you alive. I don't belong to anyone. His eyes held hers. No, he said quietly. You don't. The words should not have affected her. They did. Ava hated that too. Behind them, police sirens wailed somewhere far away, too late to save anyone. Roman opened the SUV door himself. Ava looked at the dark leather interior, then at the broken third-floor window above, then at Leo shaking in her arms. She stepped into the car. Roman followed. The door closed, and the city disappeared behind tinted glass. Roman DeLuca's safe house did not look like a safe house. It looked like the kind of penthouse gods used when they were tired of heaven. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the East River. Rain painted silver lines over the glass. The furniture was dark, expensive, and untouched by comfort. Black marble, low firelight, steel security doors hidden behind walnut panels. Men stationed outside with earpieces and guns beneath their jackets. Ava stood in the middle of the living room holding Leo's hand and felt like dirt tracked across a palace floor. Roman watched her notice everything. He had removed his coat, revealing the clean lines of his black shirt and the tattoos disappearing beneath his sleeves. Not decorative tattoos. Ava could tell. They looked like history written in ink. Names, dates, symbols men killed over. Leo hid behind Ava's leg. Roman lowered himself slightly. Not kneeling, not soft, but enough that he was no longer towering over the boy. What's your name? He asked. Leo looked up at Ava. Ava shook her head. Roman's mouth almost curved. Smart. He doesn't talk to strangers, Ava said. Neither do you. I'm talking right now. No, Roman said. You re-surviving. The accuracy of it unsettled her. A woman in a grey suit entered carrying a medical kit and a folded set of children's pajamas. Boss. Roman nodded. Leave them. Ava stepped back. No one touches him. Roman looked at her. No one will. Forgive me if I don't trust the hospitality of criminals. One of the guards shifted at her tone. Roman did not. Instead, something like approval passed through his eyes. You shouldn't, he said. Ava did not know what to do with that. The woman left. Roman opened the medical kit himself and took out antiseptic, gauze, and tape. Your hand, he said. It's fine. It's bleeding again. Ava looked down. He was right. The cut across her palm had reopened on the fire escape. Blood touched the line of her wrist. She curled her fingers. Roman's gaze sharpened. Ava. Her name in his mouth sounded different than it had in Celeste's whisper. Not a threat. Not exactly. A command wrapped in something darker. Leo tugged her sleeve. Let him fix it. Ava looked down at him. Traitor, she thought helplessly. She sat on the edge of the sofa. Roman sat across from her, close enough that his knee nearly touched hers. He took her hand only after waiting for her to give it. She hated that she gave it. His fingers were warm, careful, strong in a way that made her painfully aware of how easily he could hurt her and how deliberately he did not. The antiseptic stung. Ava flinched. Roman's thumb pressed lightly against her wrist, not holding her down, just steadying her. Glass cuts are deceptive, he said. They look small until they go deep. Ava watched his hands instead of his face. Is that supposed to be advice? It's an observation. About glass? About people. She looked up. He was watching her too closely. Ava pulled her hand back the moment he finished wrapping it. Roman let her. That, more than anything, made her nervous. Men who frightened her usually wanted her to know she had no choice. Roman DeLuca seemed far more dangerous because he understood that choice was sometimes a longer leash. "Why did you text me?" she asked. "I didn't." Ava went still. Roman turned his head. "Dante." His man stepped forward. Ava handed over her phone reluctantly. Dante checked it, then frowned. The warning came through an encrypted relay. Not ours. Roman's expression darkened. "Trace it." Ava's stomach twisted. So someone else wanted us out before those men got in. Roman looked toward the rain. "Or someone wanted you exactly where you are." The penthouse felt colder. Leo yawned against Ava's side. Fear had exhausted him. Ava guided him to the guest room only after checking the closet, bathroom, windows, and locks herself. Roman waited in the doorway without comment. When Leo was asleep, Ava returned to the living room and found Roman standing beside a wall of screens. On one screen was the rooftop party. Ava saw herself from above, holding the tray. Another angle showed Celeste leaning toward a brunette woman in emerald earrings. Roman played the audio. Static. Music. Then Celeste's voice. "After tonight, Ava Bennett disappears." Ava wrapped her arms around herself. The words were worse the second time. Roman replayed them once more. His face did not change, but something in the room did. Every DeLuca man nearby seemed to grow more still, as if his silence required obedience. "Who was she talking to?" Ava asked. "My fiancée's cousin, Bianca Voss." "Your fiancée threatens waitresses often." Roman's eyes slid to hers. "She is not my fiancée in the way you think." Ava gave a humorless smile. The giant diamond was confusing. It is a contract. Romantic. It was never meant to be. For reasons Ava did not want to examine, that landed somewhere in her chest. Roman turned back to the screen. The DeLuca and Voss families have been moving toward war for 2 years. The engagement was designed to stop it publicly. And privately. "Privately," he said. "I wanted Celeste close enough to make a mistake." Ava stared at him. "So your engagement party was a trap?" "Yes. And I walked into it carrying champagne." His gaze returned to her. "No. Someone placed you there." Ava thought of her manager calling her 3 hours before the event, desperate and insistent. A last-minute staff change. Double pay. A rooftop party. Rich people. Easy money. She had said yes because Leo needed new school shoes. Her mouth went dry. Roman saw the realization. "Who booked you?" he asked. "My manager." But he got the request from the event company. Name: Lark Crown Hospitality. Dante was already typing. Ava sank slowly into a chair. Roman watched her with a focus that felt almost physical. "Tell me about the boy," he said. "No." "Ava." "No." She stood again. "I am not handing you his story because your fake fiancé whispered my name at a party. If his story is why Celeste wants you gone, silence will not protect him. Neither will you, if protecting him becomes inconvenient." A muscle moved in Roman's jaw. For the first time, she saw something beneath his control. Anger. Not because she had insulted him, because part of him knew she was right to be afraid. "I am many things," he said. "Careless is not one of them. You re a mafia boss. Yes. You hurt people. Yes. You expect me to ignore that?" "No." Roman stepped closer. "I expect you to understand that whatever is coming for you was sent by people who smile better than I do." Ava looked toward the guest room where Leo slept, then back at Roman. "His name is Leo," she said quietly. "He is 7. My mother brought him home when he was a baby. She said he was my brother. She died 3 years later. Roman's face changed. Subtly. Dangerously. What was your mother's name? Eleanor Bennett. Behind Roman, Dante stopped typing. Ava noticed. Roman did too. He turned. What? Dante's voice was careful. Boss. Eleanor Bennett was listed as a protected witness in a sealed federal file connected to Adrian Voss. Disappeared 8 years ago. Officially died in a car accident. Ava's breath left her. Roman looked back at her, and for the first time since she had met him, he seemed genuinely caught off guard. Your mother, he said slowly, was not hiding from my world. Ava's voice barely worked. Then whose? Roman's eyes went cold. Celeste. By morning, Ava Bennett was no longer a waitress, not in the way the world understood it. By morning, her face had appeared on 3 gossip sites, 2 crime blogs, and 1 blurry video captioned, "Mystery Woman Causes Scene at DeLuca Engagement Party." By noon, the headline had changed. Is Roman DeLuca's engagement already in trouble? By 2, a photograph surfaced of Roman helping Ava into his SUV in the rain outside her apartment. By 3, the internet had decided she was either his mistress, his informant, or his next victim. Ava stared at the headlines on Roman's tablet with ice in her stomach. You need to make this stop, she said. Roman stood near the window, phone to his ear, speaking in Italian too low for her to understand. He ended the call and looked at the screen. No. Ava blinked. No. The scandal keeps you visible. Visible is safer than missing. My life is being destroyed. Your life was already targeted. That doesn't give you permission to use me as bait. Roman's eyes hardened. There it was. The coldness. The boss beneath the man who had wrapped her hand. I am trying to keep you alive. No, Ava said, stepping closer. You're trying to win whatever war you were already fighting. I just became useful. The room went silent. Even Dante looked away. Roman stared at her. Ava expected him to deny it. He did not. That is true, he said. The honesty hit harder than a lie. Ava swallowed. Roman moved toward her slowly. It is also true that if Celeste wants you erased, then you are carrying something she fears. Something connected to your mother. Something connected to Leo. Don't say his name like you own it. Roman stopped. His eyes dropped to her mouth for half a second, then returned to her eyes. I own many things, Ava. Fear, debts, bloodlines, men who would die before betraying me. His voice lowered. I do not own you. The words should have comforted her. Instead, they made the space between them feel dangerously thin. Before Ava could answer, Leo came running from the hallway clutching his stuffed wolf. Ava, there's a man making pancakes in a suit. Dante coughed once into his fist. Roman looked at him. Dante became very interested in the floor. Despite everything, Ava almost smiled. Almost. Roman's gaze caught the movement before she could hide it. For one brief second, the tension shifted. Not gone. Never. Gone. Just warmer around the edges. Then Roman's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression closed. What? Ava asked. He hung up. Your manager is dead. The room tilted. Ava gripped the back of a chair. No. He was found in his office an hour ago. Officially, it will be called a suicide. Ava shook her head. He was scared last night. Annoying, but scared. He wouldn't. I know. Ava covered her mouth. Leo looked between them. Ava. She forced herself to breathe. Go finish breakfast, okay? But, please. Dante gently guided Leo back toward the kitchen. When the boy was gone, Ava turned on Roman. You said visible was safer. It is, he said. For you. Not for everyone around you. The cruelty of that truth landed between them. Ava thought of her co-workers, her neighbors, Leo's school, people she had kept distant because life had taught her attachment was expensive. Now even distance could not save them. Roman stepped closer, but she backed away. "Don't," she said. He stopped instantly. Ava hated the tears in her eyes. "If I stay near you, people die. If you leave me, you die. That's not a choice." "No," Roman said. "It isn't." For a moment, the only sound was rain against glass. Then he said, "There is one way to slow Celeste down." Ava looked at him warily. "I'm not going to like this, am I?" "No." Roman picked up the tablet and turned it toward her. On screen was an invitation to a private charity gala that evening at the Voss Foundation. Ava stared. "Absolutely not. You will attend with me." "You're insane." "Frequently." "I'm not walking into a room full of people who want me dead." "You walked into one last night without knowing. Tonight, you walk in knowing, with me beside you." Ava laughed, sharply. "As what?" "Your waitress." Roman's gaze moved over her, not in the degrading way guests had looked at her, but in a way that made her skin heat, because it felt like he saw too much. "As the woman I chose to protect publicly." Ava's breath caught. "Celeste wants you isolated," Roman said. "Ashamed, dismissed, staff, background. If I put you at my side, she has to strike carefully. And what does the world think? That I ended an engagement for you?" "No." "Yes." Ava's pulse jumped. "You want a fake relationship. I want a shield. You want a weapon." Roman did not look away. "I want both." Ava stared at him with anger, fear, and something far more dangerous twisting together in her chest. He was not pretending to be good. That was the terrifying part. He was offering protection with blood on the edges, and she was desperate enough to consider it. "If I do this," she said, "Leo stays somewhere safe, away from cameras, away from your enemies. Already arranged. And you don't lie to me." Roman's silence lasted 1 second too long. Ava's eyes narrowed. "Roman." His name came out sharper than she intended. Something flickered across his face at hearing it. "You will get the truth I can give you," he said. "That sounds like a lie dressed nicely. It is the safest promise I can make." Ava should have refused. She should have taken Leo and run until her feet gave out. But running had never saved her mother. Hiding had only taught danger where to look. So Ava lifted her chin. "Fine," she said. "But if you use Leo, I don't care who you are. I will find a way to make you regret it." Dante looked genuinely alarmed. Roman looked almost fascinated. Then he stepped closer, close enough that Ava had to tilt her head back. "Careful," he murmured. Ava's heart hammered. Was that a threat? No. His eyes held hers. A warning. About what? His gaze dropped to her lips again. This time he did not hide it. "About making me admire you." The Voss Foundation Gala was held inside a converted bank near Bryant Park, all marble pillars, gold ceilings, and chandeliers bright enough to make lies sparkle. Ava arrived on Roman DeLuca's arm wearing a midnight blue dress she had not chosen. Diamonds she refused twice before Roman said they were borrowed from a dead queen and already insured, and heels that made her feel like one wrong step would send her into history as the woman who broke her neck at a mafia charity event. The cameras went wild. Roman did not smile. Neither did Ava. His hand rested lightly at the small of her back, not pushing, not claiming too visibly, but enough to make every person in the room understand the message. "Touch her, and answer to me." Ava could feel Celeste's hatred before she saw her. Roman's fiancée stood near the grand staircase in silver silk, surrounded by donors and politicians, her ring still blazing on her finger like a dare. When she saw Ava, her smile remained perfect. Her eyes did not. Ava leaned slightly toward Roman. "Your almost wife looks thrilled. Jealousy makes people impatient. Does that include you?" Roman's gaze shifted to her. "Do you want to make me jealous, Ava?" The question was too quiet, too intimate. Ava looked away first. That wasn't an answer, she said. No, Roman murmured. It was a confession. Before she could recover, Celeste approached. Roman, she said, voice sweet enough to poison tea. I didn't realize we were inviting staff as guests now. Ava felt old shame rise automatically. The kind rich people knew how to summon with one sentence. Roman's hand pressed once against her back. Not comfort. A reminder. Stand. So she did. Ava smiled at Celeste. Don't worry. I'm still better at carrying champagne than most people in this room are at carrying secrets. Celeste's eyes flashed. Roman looked down at Ava, as if she had just done something deeply inconvenient to his self-control. Adrian Voss arrived behind his daughter, smiling. Miss Bennet, he said. What an unexpected pleasure. Ava's skin crawled. Roman's voice was flat. Is it unexpected, Adrian? The older man chuckled. In our circles, Roman, everything is expected eventually. Ava looked from one man to the other. There was a war happening in the silence. Then Adrian's gaze dropped to Ava's necklace. Ava touched it instinctively. It was the only thing her mother had left her besides debts and fear, a small gold locket that did not open, engraved with a tiny E on the back. Adrian's smile faded. Just for a moment. Roman noticed. Ava did too. Celeste grabbed her father's arm lightly. Daddy, the mayor is waiting. But Adrian kept looking at the locket. Where did you get that? He asked. My mother. His eyes sharpened. And where is she? Ava's mouth went dry. Roman answered for her. Dead. Adrian looked at him. Roman smiled then. It was not pleasant, but you already knew that. The room seemed to dim. Adrian's expression returned to smoothness. Careful, Roman. Grief makes men reckless. No, Roman said. Secrets do. Celeste stepped between them. Enough. This is a charity gala, not one of your dockside interrogations. Ava looked at Roman. Dockside. His jaw tightened. Another hidden piece, another truth withheld. The evening became a performance of knives wrapped in velvet. Roman introduced Ava to people who were afraid to ask why she mattered. Celeste watched every movement. Adrian disappeared twice with men Ava recognized from the rooftop. Every time Ava turned, she felt eyes on her. Then, near midnight, she saw someone she knew. Marissa, another waitress from Lark Crown. Ava caught sight of her near the service corridor, pale and trembling, dressed in a catering uniform. Marissa? Ava whispered. The woman's eyes filled with panic. She turned and ran. Ava pulled away from Roman. He caught her wrist gently. Where are you going? I know her. That is not an answer. Ava looked at his hand on her wrist. Roman released her. She followed Marissa into the corridor, Roman 2 steps behind her despite the fact she had not invited him. The hallway smelled like lemon polish and fear. Ava found Marissa near a loading door, crying into her hands. Marissa. The woman flinched. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Ava's stomach sank. What did you do? They said they only needed your schedule, Marissa whispered. They said no one would get hurt. They knew about my dad's medical bills. They knew everything. Roman's presence behind Ava turned lethal. Who asked? He said. Marissa's face crumpled. Bianca Voss. Ava closed her eyes. Betrayal had a strange weight. Not always rage, sometimes just exhaustion. Marissa reached into her apron and pulled out a folded envelope. Your manager gave me this before he died. He said if anything happened, I had to give it to you. I was scared. Ava took it with shaking fingers. Inside was a key and an address. Roman looked over her shoulder. His expression changed. "What is it?" Ava asked. "A private vault under the old Federal Hall building." He looked at the key. Families like ours use places like that for things no court should find. "Our families?" Ava asked. He did not answer. Before she could demand one, the loading door burst open. Men in masks rushed in. Roman moved before Ava even understood danger had entered the hall. He shoved her behind him, drew a gun from beneath his jacket, and fired once into the ceiling. The sound cracked through marble and gold. Guests screamed in the ballroom. One masked man grabbed Marissa, another aimed at Ava. Roman's arm came around her, hard and protective, pulling her against his chest as he turned his body between her and the gun. Ava felt the shot more than heard it. A marble wall exploded beside them. Roman pushed her down behind a catering cart. His body covered hers for one breath, heavy and warm, and terrifyingly alive. "Stay down," he ordered. Ava looked up at him. His face was inches from hers. No softness, no confession, only fury. But not because men had attacked him, because they had aimed at her. Then he was gone, moving with brutal precision through smoke and screaming. Ava crawled toward Marissa, who was sobbing near the wall. Another attacker reached for Ava's ankle. She grabbed the nearest champagne bottle and swung. It shattered against his mask. He dropped. Ava stared at him, horrified. Roman looked back just in time to see it. Their eyes met across the chaos. Something fierce passed between them. Not romance. Not yet. Recognition. Ava was not furniture. She was not background. And Roman DeLuca was beginning to understand that protecting her would not be simple because Ava Bennett did not know how to be owned, even by safety. The vault beneath Federal Hall smelled like old paper, cold metal, and the kind of secrets that had ruined families. Roman took Ava there before dawn, not because it was wise, because waiting had become more dangerous. Leo had been moved to a DeLuca estate outside the city with 3 guards, 1 pediatric nurse, and a retired schoolteacher who apparently owed Roman a favor and did not ask questions. Ava hated leaving him. She hated more that she trusted Roman's security more than her own apartment. The vault attendant did not ask for identification after seeing Roman. He simply led them down a private corridor and left them in front of a steel door. Ava used the key. Inside was a narrow room with 1 deposit box waiting on a stone table. Her hands shook as she opened it. The first thing inside was a photograph. Her mother, younger and smiling tightly, standing beside Adrian Voss. In her arms was baby Leo. Ava stopped breathing. Roman stood behind her, silent. The second item was a birth certificate. Leonardo Elias Voss. Father, Adrian Michael Voss. Mother, Eleanor Bennett. Ava's knees weakened. Roman caught her before she fell. She hated that his arms felt solid. She hated that for 1 second she leaned into him because the world had become too cruel to stand in alone. "Leo is Adrian's son," she whispered. Roman's jaw hardened. "Celeste's half-brother." Ava stared at the paper. "Why would my mother hide him?" Roman reached into the box and removed a drive, a stack of documents, and a sealed letter with Ava's name written in her mother's handwriting. Ava opened the letter first. Her mother's words blurred through tears. "Ava, if you are reading this, then I failed to keep the past buried. Leo is not safe because his father will never love him more than power, and Celeste will never allow him to inherit what she believes is hers. Adrian used me to hide money, names, and crimes. When I tried to leave, I learned too much. If anything happens to me, protect Leo. Trust no Voss, trust no DeLuca unless the son becomes different from the father. I am sorry for every lie. I loved you both." Ava pressed the letter to her mouth. Roman said nothing. That was the only mercy he gave her. The documents revealed the rest. Adrian Voss had created hidden trusts through shell companies. If Leo's existence became public, control of several Voss assets would shift away from Celeste upon Adrian's death. More importantly, Eleanor Bennett had collected evidence that the Voss family had betrayed the DeLucas during a dockside massacre 2 years earlier. Roman's younger brother had died that night. Ava knew it before Roman said anything. She saw it in the way his face emptied. His hand rested on the edge of the table, knuckles pale. "Roman," she said carefully. He did not look at her. "My brother Marco was 26, he said. He was reckless, arrogant, loud. He hated olives and loved every woman who smiled at him. He called me at 1:12 inches the morning from Pier 9 and told me something felt wrong." Ava barely breathed. "I told him to stop being dramatic," Roman said. His voice did not break. That made it worse. 10 minutes later, he was dead. Ava touched his sleeve before she thought better of it. Roman looked down at her hand. Neither of them moved. Then his phone buzzed. Dante's voice came through when Roman answered. "Boss, Celeste knows you opened the vault. We intercepted chatter. She's moving on the boy." Ava's blood turned to ice. Roman's eyes went black. "Where?" "Estate perimeter just triggered. They're not in yet." But Roman was already moving. Ava grabbed the documents and drive, stuffing them into her coat. Roman caught her arm. "You are staying here." Ava stared at him. "Leo is my family, and you are the evidence." "He is a child." Roman's control cracked. "And if I lose both of you because you run into gunfire, what then?" The words landed too hard, too personal. Ava froze. Roman seemed to realize what he had said at the same time she did. For one suspended second, the vault disappeared. There was only him, his hand on her arm, his fear disguised as anger, her heartbeat answering something she did not want. Then he released her. "You stay behind me," he said. Ava nodded once. They ran. The DeLuca estate outside the city sat behind iron gates and winter bare trees, all grey stone and old money under a violent sky. By the time Roman SUV tore up the driveway, smoke was already rising near the east wing. Ava's seatbelt jammed in her panic. Roman cut it with a knife before she could think. "Stay with Dante," he ordered. "No, Ava." But she was already out of the car, running toward the house. Roman cursed and followed. Inside, alarms screamed. Men shouted. Smoke curled along the ceiling, but did not yet fill the halls. Ava heard Leo crying before she saw him. The sound tore through her. She ran toward it. A masked man stepped out of a doorway. Roman hit him with such controlled violence that Ava barely saw the movement. 1 second the man stood. The next he was on the floor, and Roman was stepping over him. Not cruel, efficient, terrifying, alive. Ava found Leo in the library, crouched under a desk with the retired teacher beside him. The teacher held a fireplace poker like she intended to fight God with it. "Ava," Leo sobbed. She dropped to her knees and pulled him into her arms. I'm here. Roman stood in the doorway, gun lowered, eyes scanning every shadow. Then the television mounted above the fireplace flickered on. Celeste appeared on the screen, still beautiful, still smiling. Behind her was a candle-lit room Ava did not recognize. "Roman," Celeste said, "you always did love dramatic rescues." Roman went still. Ava held Leo tighter. Celeste's gaze shifted slightly, as if she could see Ava through the camera. "And there she is. The waitress who broke my engagement." Roman's voice was ice. "You broke it when you threatened her." Celeste laughed. "No, I broke it when I realized you were never going to marry me." "Not really. You wanted my family close enough to gut us. Daddy wanted your ports. I wanted your name. We all wanted something." Her smile sharpened. Except Ava, apparently. Ava just wants to survive. How touching. Ava stood slowly, keeping Leo behind her. Why do you care if Leo exists? Celeste's eyes glittered. Because my father's little mistake becomes my financial problem if the world learns his name. He's 7. He is paperwork with a pulse. Ava flinched as if struck. Roman's face changed in a way that made every man in the room step back. Celeste saw it and smiled wider. Oh, Roman, there it is. That look. You never looked at me like that. Pray, I never do, he said. Celeste's smile faltered. Then her expression hardened. You have until midnight to bring me the drive from the vault and sign over DeLuca control of Pier 9. Come alone, or I send every newspaper in the city proof that Ava Bennett kidnapped Adrian Voss's son for ransom. Ava stared. No one would believe that. Celeste tilted her head. Sweetheart, people believe whatever expensive men tell them to believe. The screen went black. Silence followed. Leo shook against Ava. Roman turned to Dante. Find her. Already working. Ava looked at Roman. She can't have the drive. She won't. She can't have Leo. She won't. She can't have you either. The words came out before Ava could stop them. Roman looked at her. The room seemed to hold its breath. Ava looked away first, furious with herself. Roman stepped closer, slow enough that she could retreat. She did not. He stopped inches from her. You should not care what happens to me, he said. Ava laughed softly, painfully. I know. His hand lifted. For one impossible moment, she thought he would touch her face. He stopped just before his fingers reached her cheek. The almost touch hurt more than contact would have. Then Dante entered. We found her. Abandoned church in Harlem. Voss family property. But there's something else. Roman did not look away from Ava. Say it. Dante hesitated. Adrian Voss is there too. With Bianca. And half the men who hit Pier 9 2 years ago. Roman's expression turned to stone. Ava understood. This was no longer only about Leo. This was about his brother, his revenge, his trap, his grief, and somewhere inside all of that, her. Ava found the hidden file by accident. Or maybe betrayal always wants to be found. Roman had left her in an upstairs bedroom at the estate with Leo asleep beside her and 2 guards outside the door. He had gone downstairs to prepare for midnight, carrying the kind of silence men wore when they had already decided who would die. Ava could not sleep. She went looking for water and found Roman's office door open. Inside, maps covered the walls, pier layouts, Voss properties, surveillance stills from the rooftop, photos from her apartment after the break-in. Celeste, Adrian, Bianca. Then Ava saw herself. Not one photo, dozens. Ava entering work. Ava at Leo's school. Ava buying groceries. Ava sitting on the fire escape 2 weeks ago, her face turned toward the sky. Her heart stopped. Behind her, Roman's voice said, "Those were recovered from Celeste's men." Ava turned. He stood in the doorway. She could not read him. For once, she did not want to. "You expect me to believe that?" "Yes." "Why didn't you show me?" "Because you were already afraid. So you decided more secrets would help." His jaw tightened. "I decided keeping you functional mattered more than satisfying your need to know every threat at once." Ava laughed, stunned. "My need? Those are photos of me. My life. My child. He is not your child." The words cut. Roman knew it the moment he said them. Ava's face went still. He stepped forward. "Ava. No. Don't." His voice lowered. "I meant legally. Biologically. I know exactly what you meant." Her eyes burned. "But I held him when he had nightmares. I signed school forms. I worked until my feet bled so he could have a birthday cake. I lied to landlords and doctors and teachers because my mother left me with a baby and a box of fear. So don't stand there with your war maps and tell me what he is to me." Roman looked stricken. "Not dramatically. Not softly. Worse. Silently, Ava grabbed one of the photos and threw it at him. It hit his chest and fell. You were going to use us. Roman did not deny it fast enough. The last fragile piece inside her broke. Oh my God. He stepped toward her. At first, Ava backed away. There it is. At first, he repeated, voice rougher now. Before I knew you. Before Leo. Before Celeste put cameras in your home. Before I watched you stand in a room full of predators and refuse to lower your eyes. That's supposed to make it better? No. Then what is it supposed to do? Roman's control finally cracked enough for pain to show through. It is supposed to be the truth. Ava stared at him. The truth was ugly. But it was still truth. Roman took another step. I was going to use the evidence to destroy Adrian Voss. I was going to use whatever connection your mother had to expose Celeste. I was going to do what men like me do. And now? His eyes held hers. Now I would burn Pier 9 myself before I let them take you. Ava's breath caught. The words were too much, too dangerous, too close to everything she had not let herself want. She looked away. Don't say things like that. Why? Because I might believe you. Roman came closer. This time, when his hand lifted, he did not stop. His fingers touched her cheek with impossible care. Ava closed her eyes despite herself. The touch was brief, reverent. Then gunfire cracked downstairs. Roman pulled away instantly. The door burst open. Dante appeared. They found the estate gate. Roman looked at Ava. All softness vanished. Take Leo through the tunnel. No, Ava said. Ava, I am done running separately from the truth. Roman's eyes burned. This is not courage. It is suicide. No, she said. It's family. Another shot sounded. The lights flickered. Roman looked toward the hallway, then back at her. For the first time, Ava saw the thing beneath all his power. Fear. Not of death. Of losing. He took her face in both hands, sudden and intense. Listen to me, he said. If I tell you to run, you run. If I tell you to hide, you hide. If I fall, you do not come back for me. Ava's eyes filled. I hate you, she whispered. Roman's mouth almost touched her forehead. I know, you don't. His eyes dropped to hers. No, he said, I don't. Then he let her go, and the house went dark. Midnight found them inside an abandoned church in Harlem, where saints stared down from broken stained glass and candles burned along the altar like someone had mistaken murder for prayer. Roman came through the front doors alone. At least, he appeared alone. Ava watched from the shadows of the choir loft with Dante and Leo hidden behind her, her heart pounding so hard she could barely hear the wind moving through the cracked windows. She had refused to stay behind. Roman had looked like he wanted to lock her in a vault. Instead, he gave her a small transmitter, placed his coat around her shoulders, and said, If this goes wrong, you get him out. Ava asked, And you? Roman had only looked at her. That had been answer enough. Now he stood in the center aisle beneath the ruined ceiling, black suit immaculate, face unreadable, the drive from the vault held in one hand. Celeste stood at the altar, in red. Not bridal white anymore. Red. Beside her stood Adrian Voss, older, colder, one hand wrapped around a cane he did not need. Bianca waited near the candles with a gun in her hand. Around them, armed men filled the shadows. Celeste smiled when she saw Roman. You came. Roman's voice echoed through the church. You sound surprised. I thought your pride might be stronger than your attachment to the waitress. It was. Her smile faltered. Roman stepped closer. Then I met her. Ava's chest tightened. Celeste laughed, but pain twisted beneath it. You expect me to believe Ava Bennett changed Roman DeLuca? No, Roman said. I expect you to understand that you failed to. Adrian tapped his cane once against the stone floor. Enough romance. The drive. Roman lifted it. Adrian's eyes gleamed. And the peer documents? Celeste asked. Roman reached into his jacket and removed a folded packet. Ava frowned from the loft. Dante whispered. He wouldn't. But she heard uncertainty in his voice. Celeste saw the packet and smiled. For a waitress, she said softly. How tragic. Roman's face did not change. Adrian nodded to Bianca. Bianca moved toward the side aisle. Toward the stairs leading to the choir loft, Ava's blood ran cold. They knew. Dante stepped in front of her and Leo. Roman looked up, only for a second. But Celeste caught it. Her smile widened. There she is. A spotlight snapped on, flooding the loft. Ava shielded Leo's face. Roman's entire body went still. Celeste lifted her gun toward the loft. Come down, Ava. Bring my little inheritance problem with you, Leo whimpered. Ava squeezed his hand. Stay behind Dante. Then she stood. Roman's eyes locked on hers from below, furious and terrified. Ava walked down the narrow stairs slowly, every step echoing. The church watched her descend, not as staff, not as furniture, as the woman everyone had tried to erase and failed. When she reached the aisle, Roman moved toward her. Bianca raised the gun. Roman stopped. Ava walked to him anyway. You shouldn't be here, he said quietly. Ava looked at him. Neither should you. Something like a broken smile touched his mouth and vanished. Celeste clapped once. Beautiful. Really. I almost feel bad. No, you don't, Ava said. Celeste's eyes sharpened. Ava turned to Adrian. Leo is your son. The old man's expression barely shifted. A regrettable complication. He is a child. He is leverage. Roman's voice became deadly. Careful. Adrian smiled. You sound like your father. Roman moved so fast several men raised their guns. But Ava caught his hand. He stopped. Her fingers closed around his. The whole church seemed to notice. Celeste, most of all. You love her, Celeste whispered. Roman did not answer. He did not need to. Celeste's face twisted. I was born for this world, she said. I was raised for it, trained for it. I learned names, alliances, blood debts. I smiled beside monsters. And you choose a waitress? Roman's hand tightened around Ava's. No, he said. I chose the one person in this room who never wanted power. Celeste lifted her gun. Roman stepped in front of Ava. Adrian shouted, Enough! Give me the drive. Roman looked at Ava. There was apology in his eyes. Then he handed the drive to Adrian. Ava's stomach dropped. Celeste smiled triumphantly. Adrian inserted it into a laptop on the altar. The screen lit. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then Celeste's voice filled the church speakers. After tonight, Ava Bennett disappears. Celeste froze. The audio continued. Her conversations with Bianca. Her orders to kill Ava's manager. Her admission that she arranged the attack at the estate. Then Adrian's voice. Pier 9. Marco De Luca. Payments. Names. Dates. Every secret spilled through the church like judgment. Adrian ripped the drive from the laptop, but it was too late. Roman's eyes were cold. That was not the only copy. Outside, sirens erupted. Not police sirens. Federal. Adrian's face changed for the first time. You brought the government into family business. Roman looked at him. No. Ava's mother did. I simply finished delivering her evidence. Celeste screamed and fired. Roman pulled Ava down as the church exploded into chaos. Gunfire shattered stained glass overhead. Men shouted. De Luca soldiers stormed through side doors. Federal agents breached from the back. Candles fell. Smoke curled through holy air. Roman shielded Ava with his body. dragging her behind a stone pillar. Leo screamed from the loft. Ava tried to run to him, but Roman held her back. Dante has him. I need to see him. You need to live. A bullet struck the pillar. Stone chips cut Roman's cheek. Ava grabbed his face. You re-hit. It's nothing. You always say things like that? Only when beautiful women panic over me. She stared at him despite the madness around them. Did you just call me beautiful during a shootout? His eyes met hers. Yes. For one insane second. Ava almost laughed. Then Celeste appeared from the smoke behind Roman, gun raised. Ava saw her first. Roman! She shoved him. The shot hit his shoulder instead of his back. Roman staggered. Ava caught him as much as she could, terror ripping through her. Celeste aimed again, but Leo's stuffed wolf flew from the choir stairs and hit Celeste in the face. It did nothing, except distract her for half a second. That was all Roman needed. He disarmed Celeste with one brutal movement and pinned her wrist against the pillar. The gun clattered away. Celeste stared at him, breathing hard, mascara streaked, hatred stripped bare. You would have loved me, she whispered, if she had never existed. Roman looked at Ava, then back at Celeste. No, he said. I would have endured you. The cruelty of truth broke Celeste more than rage would have. Federal agents swarmed her. Adrian tried to flee through the sacristy and found Dante waiting with a gun and no patience. The church slowly filled with surrendered men, broken glass, and the sound of handcuffs closing around old power. Ava ran to Leo and dropped to her knees, holding him so tightly he complained he could not breathe. Then she turned. Roman stood near the altar, one hand pressed to his shoulder, blood darkening his black suit. He looked at Ava as if she were the only thing still standing in the world. Then his knees buckled. Ava caught him before he hit the floor. Roman! His weight dragged her down with him. She cradled his head in her lap, her hands shaking against his face. No, no, stay with me. His eyes opened halfway. Bossy, he murmured. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Don't you dare flirt while bleeding. His mouth curved faintly. I have terrible timing. Ava pressed her forehead to his. You don't get to die after making me care. Roman's eyes softened in a way she had never seen. There, beneath broken saints and burning candles, with sirens outside and Celeste screaming his name from handcuffs, Roman DeLuca lifted his uninjured hand and touched Ava's cheek. This time, he did not stop halfway. I was afraid of that, he whispered. Of dying. His gaze held hers. Of making you care. 3 months later, Manhattan still whispered about the night the DeLuca-Voss engagement ended in an abandoned church. The papers called it a criminal conspiracy. The gossip sites called it a love triangle. Federal prosecutors called it the biggest organized crime corruption case in New York's recent memory. Ava called it the reason she now had 3 locks, a security detail she pretended not to notice, and a 7-year-old boy who insisted Roman's house had better pancakes than hers. Adrian Voss went to prison before trial because no judge wanted the scandal of granting him bail. Celeste Voss disappeared from society pages and reappeared in courtroom sketches, still beautiful, still furious, no longer untouchable. Leo became Leonardo Bennett by legal choice, not fear. Ava let him keep the name that had raised him. The inheritance tied to Adrian Voss was placed in trust, guarded by lawyers Roman disliked, and Ava trusted because they were afraid of her, not him. Ava did not return to Lark Crown. Roman bought the hospitality company and fired half the board. Ava found out from the newspaper and stormed into his office on the 47th floor of DeLuca Tower, wearing jeans, a green sweater, and fury. Roman looked up from a conference table surrounded by dangerous men. Every man in the room went silent. Ava held up the paper. Tell me you did not buy an entire company because they treated me badly. Roman leaned back in his chair. His shoulder had healed, though he still moved carefully when he thought no one was watching. They also laundered money for Adrian Voss. Roman. And treated you badly. Roman. He looked at the men around the table. Leave. They left quickly. Ava crossed her arms. You can't solve every emotional inconvenience with corporate violence. I disagree. You're impossible. So I've been told. She tried not to smile. Failed. Roman saw it and stood. He crossed the room slowly, giving her time to retreat. She never did any more. That still seemed to affect him. He stopped in front of her. I also heard you signed a lease. Ava narrowed her eyes. How? Dante. I'm firing Dante from my life. He will be devastated. Ava looked away, suddenly nervous. It's a small place. Cafe downstairs, apartment above it. Queens. Near Leo's school. You didn't ask me for help. No. Why? She looked back at him. Because I needed to know I could build something that wasn't handed to me by fear, pity, or a man with blood on his shoes. Roman's face became unreadable. Then he nodded once. Good. Ava blinked. Good? Yes. You're not offended. I am constantly offended. That doesn't mean you're wrong. She laughed softly. Roman's gaze dropped to her mouth. The office changed around them. It always happened like that now. 1 second they were arguing. The next, the air became charged with everything they had not fully said. Roman lifted a hand and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Ava's breath caught. You're redoing it again, she whispered. What? Almost touching me like you re-asking permission without words. His eyes darkened. I am. Ava's heart turned over. Roman DeLuca, who commanded men with silence and terrified senators with a glance, waited for her. Always now. Not because he was weak. Because he understood strength meant nothing if it crushed the person you wanted to hold. Ava stepped closer. His breath shifted. Then she kissed him. It was not gentle at first. Too much had led to it. Fear, anger, rain, blood, broken glass, secrets. Every almost touch that had lived between them finally becoming real. Roman's hand came to her waist, firm and reverent, pulling her closer but not trapping her. Ava felt the restraint in him, the danger held back by choice, and it made her trust the kiss more, not less. When they separated, Roman rested his forehead against hers. I need to tell you something, he said. Ava stiffened. That sounds ominous. It is. She pulled back enough to look at him. Roman's expression was serious. I do not know how to love gently. Ava's throat tightened. He continued, voice low. I know how to protect, possess, destroy threats, stand between you and bullets. I know how to remember every person who has ever made you afraid. But gentleness is not a language I learned well. Ava touched his chest, feeling the steady beat beneath her palm. Then learn. His eyes held hers. For you, he said, I will. 6 months later, Ava opened Bennett House Cafe on a rainy Thursday morning. The sign was green and gold. The tables were mismatched on purpose. The first dollar she earned was framed behind the counter. Leo sat near the window doing homework and eating a cinnamon roll bigger than his face. Ava wore an apron because she wanted to, not because someone had made her invisible in one. At noon, 3 black SUVs pulled up outside. Every customer turned. Ava sighed, subtle as always. Roman entered carrying a single white rose. Not a bouquet. Not diamonds. Not some grand public claim. 1 rose. Ava looked at it, then at him. What is this? A grand romantic gesture. This is 1 flower. I was told I should practice moderation. By who? Your lawyer? Ava laughed. Roman placed the rose on the counter. Leo ran over and hugged him around the waist. Roman froze for half a second, as he always did when affection attacked him without warning. Then his hand came down carefully on the boy's head. "You're late," Leo said. "I was in a meeting." Ava said Mafia meetings are not excuses. Roman looked at Ava. "She says many dangerous things." Ava leaned on the counter. "And yet you keep coming back." Roman's gaze softened in the way that still made her chest ache. "Yes," he said, "I do." That evening, after the cafe closed, Roman took Ava back to the rooftop where everything had begun. Not the same party. Not the same music. No Celeste. No champagne towers. No guests who looked through her. Just Manhattan glowing beneath a clear night sky, the wind lifting Ava's hair, and the faint memory of shattered glass beneath their feet. Ava stood near the marble floor where her life had broken open. Roman stood beside her, hands in his coat pockets, quiet. "For a long time," Ava said, "I thought that was the worst moment of my life." Roman looked at the ground. "It was the moment I understood my world had touched yours." "No," she said. He looked at her. Ava turned to him. "It was the moment I stopped disappearing." Something moved across his face. Pain. Devotion. A love still learning how to be safe. Roman reached into his pocket and took out the broken stem of a champagne glass. Ava stared. "You kept that?" "It was evidence, Roman. It was," he said. Then, quieter. "And it was the first thing that ever made me afraid of losing someone I had just met." Ava's eyes burned. He placed the glass stem into her hand carefully. Its edges had been smoothed, set into a thin gold frame like a strange little relic. Ava laughed through tears. "This is the least normal gift anyone has ever given me. I considered a necklace. You turned my trauma into jewelry. Symbolism. You need therapy. I have you. I am not therapy." "No," Roman said, stepping closer. "You are much more dangerous." Ava looked up at him, smiling despite herself. Then his expression changed. He took her hand. "Ava Bennett," he said, voice low, steady, intimate. "I will never ask you to disappear into my world. I will never ask you to become smaller so I can feel powerful. I will never promise you peace, because men like me do not bring peace easily." Her throat tightened. "But I will promise you truth, protection, choice, and every piece of myself I still know how to give." Ava looked at the man Manhattan feared. The man who had used her, protected her, lied badly, loved worse, and learned. The man who had stood in front of bullets before he knew how to say he cared. The man who still looked at her like she was both salvation and punishment. "And if I say no," she whispered. Roman's eyes held hers. "Then I will have Dante bring pancakes on Sundays and suffer with dignity." Ava laughed, tears slipping down her cheeks. Then she stepped into him. "I'm not saying no." Roman exhaled like the city had released him. He kissed her beneath the rooftop lights, slow and deep and careful, his hands holding her as if power had finally learned tenderness. Below them, Manhattan kept glittering. Somewhere in that city, people still whispered Roman DeLuca's name with fear. But Ava Bennett no longer heard her name as a threat. Not from Celeste. Not from the past. Not from any room that tried to make her invisible. She had shattered one glass and exposed an empire. She had protected a child, faced a monster, and made the most dangerous man in New York learn how to kneel emotionally without ever lowering his power. And when Roman held her against the cold rooftop wind, Ava finally understood something her mother had never lived long enough to teach her. Survival was not the same as living. Hiding was not the same as being safe. And sometimes the love that found you in the dark did not save you by making the world gentle. Sometimes it stood beside you, dangerous and devoted, until you remembered you were never meant to disappear. Roman brushed his mouth against her temple. "Come home," he whispered. Ava looked out at the lights, then back at him. "Only if we stop for Leo's pancakes first." Roman's mouth curved. As my queen commands. She rolled her eyes. Don't start. But she took his hand, and this time, when the elevator doors closed behind them, Ava was not being escorted away from danger. She was walking into a future she had chosen, beside a man who had once ruled by fear, and now, for her, was learning devotion.